Hello fellow travelers, this time we'll take a look at arguably the most problematic weekly boss so far, Azhdaha. Azhdaha gets different elemental variations every week. He absorbs an element twice during the fight, and you can tell which elements he will absorb just by looking at his domain entrance. Note that element pool is very limited, 2 options for each transition, so there are only 4 possible combinations in total that simply rotate every week. Element absorptions are tied to Azhdaha's HP, and the easiest way to track those is to use the text above his HP bar. Note that during transitions you cannot lower boss HP below certain points until the next phase begins. Once Azhdaha absorbs an element, he not only infuses some attacks with it, but also increases own resistance to the same element on top of its natural geo and physical resistances. In addition to that, if you get hit by any infused attack, you also receive a long-lasting dot, which you can prevent if you protect yourself with a shield. This dot deals a lot of damage in total, and it stays on you even if you switch characters. This extra damage wouldn't be a big deal if not for the fact that Azhdaha is huge, and he has absolutely stupid and utterly unfair hitboxes. So let's figure out how to not get hit. No matter which version you face, in the beginning of a fight, Azhdaha uses only his basic attacks. The worst one of them, Body Slam, is triggered when you stay on his left or right side. You can't iframe this attack, and its hitbox is massive, so do your best to always stay either in front or behind the boss to not trigger it in the first place. If you stay behind Azhdaha, you'll have to deal with his tail slams, which you can simply iframe, but if you are not exactly behind him, Azhdaha might turn around with a tail sweep, and it's not that easy to dodge. You either have to run very far away or somehow magically dodge his massive hitbox by running past the boss, but usually you simply won't have enough time to do either. If you stay in front of the boss instead, you'll have to deal with head slams, which again you can easily iframe. Note that base version of this attack also releases frontal shockwaves, so you are not safe in front of the boss even if you don't stay close. But no matter where you stand, Azhdaha might also jump, releasing 2 shockwaves with expanding radius as he lands, so here you need to dodge twice with a short delay to avoid damage from both. He also occasionally stomps, releasing 3 shockwaves in a row around used food, and the best way to dodge it is to run away. Technically you can iframe these shockwaves, but normally you can dash only twice in a row, so dodging all 3 waves is something only characters with alternate sprint abilities can do. If you stay too far, however, aside from tail sweep, Azhdaha can either launch a bunch of spikes from his back at you that fall in a straight line and then explode, so you simply need to get away from them. Or if you stay in front of him, he can charge at you, finishing this move with a ground toss, which significantly extends this attack's range forward, so move out of his way to avoid damage. And lastly, Azhdaha can burrow and dig through the ground, eventually partially reappearing to ram you. He always moves forward at first, so the best way to get to safety immediately is to simply run in different direction. I prefer running along the edge of arena during this attack because in this case Azhdaha always charges at you from the center, and you don't have to do anything extra to dodge this move. Oh, and even though constantly falling rocks track your movement, they take way too long to fall, so most of the time sprinting or dashing is not even necessary to avoid those. This attack is used only in the first phase, so you won't have to deal with it later. Speaking of which, once you deal enough damage, Azhdaha will transition into phase 2, but before that he releases 6 massive shockwaves around himself, with the last one being bigger and stronger than the others, so run away whenever you hear
"There is no atonement for 1,000-year pain!
or
The enraged earth will not absolve you!"
or simply pay attention to the text appearing on the screen. And even if Azhdaha is stuck performing another attack when the tip appears, remember the transition must happen right after, so do not come close to the boss until you see it. For phase 2, Azhdaha absorbs either Pyro or Hydro, and he infuses stomps, jumps and head slams, as well as adds 1 more special attack. In case of Pyro, Azhdaha adds meteor showers to the pool, which normally will be the very first attack you'll see after transition. Meteors track your movement, so just keep moving, don't sprint to preserve stamina, and dash away from appearing sigils. Meteors also leave burning spots on the ground that last for a while and deal pyro damage, thus also apply dot to you, which is a lot of extra damage, so stay away from those. These burning spots are the main theme for Pyro version, and all basic attacks I mentioned before from now on will also launch fireballs at random locations around, which doesn't change the way you dodge these attacks, but at some point burning ground might cover way too much area and make it difficult to find a safe spot, especially if you have to fight in melee. So just run away, find a new safe area and lure Azhdaha there if you start running out of space. If Azhdaha absorbs Hydro, with a new special attack he summons several water bubbles that circle around the arena. These bubbles might hit you even before you see them, so if you don't want to rely on luck, just stay in the center. It will always be a safe spot. After absorbing Hydro with jumping attacks and stomps, boss also releases several waves, one of which always targets you, and if you stay close, you will dodge the former naturally, because it reaches you right when you iframe the first shockwave, but if you are far away, just dash to the side to get out of its way. Changes for Head Slam are different though. Hydro version replaces frontal shockwaves with a sigil that appears in front of you after the slam. Since it tracks your movement, just dash to the side to iframe the slam, and keep moving in that direction for a bit until you see the sigil before turning back. This way it will always spawn somewhere out of the way and won't cause any problems. If you manage to handle all of that and drop Azhdaha down to the next HP threshold, he will transition to phase 3 with the same attack as before, but this time it will be infused with previously absorbed element, and from now on this move will be used freely as a common attack, so pay attention to voice lines to get away in time if you can't kill the boss shortly after. For phase 3, Azhdaha absorbs either Cryo or Electro, and this time he infuses the rest of basic attacks, i.e. tail slams, tail swipes, body slams, charges and spike attacks, as well as adds 2 more special attacks. In case of Cryo, as his first special attack, Azhdaha burrows on the ground leaving only his tail and summons a hailstorm, similar to the meteor shower we saw in Pyro version. But this one lasts longer, and instead of burning spots, each projectile releases 3 expanding ice rings after landing. This attack is scarier than meteors because if you get hit once, Cryo will slow you down, and dodging will become even more difficult. The strategy here is pretty much the same though, always keep moving. Just keep in mind when you are planning your movement that dangerous zones don't become safe right after impact. The second new Cryo attack is also quite annoying. Azhdaha summons a floating ice sphere that moves around the arena and periodically releases several ice spikes at you, 5 times in total. The main problem here is that you have to be at respectable distance from the sphere to see it and dodge these spikes, so if you don't have shields or lots of healing to simply soak the hits, in order to avoid being hit you'll have to run around for a while until the sphere disappears. Spikes that Azhdaha launches from his back now track you and have lingering effect, and they can be dodged just like any other tracking attack I showed before, but their AoEs are small enough so you can also safely dash past them if you need to. Tail swipes leave small bombs that explode shortly after, so their AoE is now even bigger, and it's still better to not provoke them in the first place. And tail slams simply get an aftershock that also can be iframed, so from now on, if you don't want to run away from them, you'll have to dash twice with a short delay to avoid damage. Body slams and charges stay the same, aside from the fact that they also apply dot to you from now on, so you definitely don't want to get hit by them. Now, if Azhdaha absorbs Electro, for his special attack he still burrows, but this time you'll have to dodge massive AoEs that cover the entire arena, leaving only a couple of safe spots, the ones without purple highlight. For each strike, safe spots are determined at random, so it's better to stay around the center to be able to quickly get to safety. There will be 4 strikes in total, and don't stay right on top of Azhdaha's body when he's about to reappear after he marks the last one. This guy is cheating. Another new Electro attack is just few spheres that Azhdaha summons and then launches at you in quick succession. You can avoid them if you simply stay far enough and keep running. Spikes in Electro version explode, releasing Electro waves from the center, following corners of the sigil. So dash away from the sigil, staying in between two of those to avoid being hit. Tail swipes in this case leave moving Electro spheres, and for tail slams, again you'll just have to dash twice to avoid aftershocks. Now I know that was a lot, but with Azhdaha getting hit will result in a lot of extra damage, so learning all of that will keep you alive even if you don't have good shields or healing. Since Azhdaha has decent physical and geo resistances and also gains extra resistance towards absorbed elements, it's better to not rely heavily on those. You can make teams around unused elements every week, but if you want a team that works great against any version, Anima or Dendro teams will be the best options. During the fight, your positioning matters a lot. The best place to be in to prevent awful attacks is right in front of Azhdaha or directly behind him, but watch out for tail swipes in this case. However, dodging most of the stuff he throws at you will often require you to move away. Moreover, lots of attacks have lingering effects that also prevent you from coming back to the good spot. Thus, ranged combat is much better here, and with ranged characters you will be able to keep dealing damage instead of just waiting for the boss to move to a better spot, which significantly speeds up the process. Dodging everything might be tricky at times, because we're limited by 2 dashes in a row, so learning when you can get away with just a single dash helps a lot. Also remember that tall characters run faster and dash further, so switching to those for intense dodging sections might help. Strong shields are even more helpful in this fight than usual, since they significantly reduce incoming damage by negating special dot, even if you get hit, and thus they allow you to cut some corners and speed up the process even more. But where exactly is up to you to decide, depending on how strong your characters are. Here I'll just remind you that Zhongli and Kirara are the only characters so far who can easily maintain 100% shield uptime, and Layla is very close to it. And remember that patience is the key here. If you know that you can't simply soak the damage, just play it safe. Take your time and wait for the opening. With enough practice, you can beat any version with no healing or shields at all, no matter how bad your damage is. Anyway, that's all I have for you this time, fellow travelers. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.